Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardha Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Madhava Kunja Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardha Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Brajajana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jayam Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivajika Charya Ashto Tadasadashi Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivajika Charya Ashto Tadasadashi Śrīmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta-Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Gaho Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shedvaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokopitana Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mahapura Navadvip Dham ki, Shri Purushottam Chatra ki, Shri Ganga Mai ki jai, Shri Jamuna Mai ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Devi Maharani ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from, according to the screen up there, it says 10.89.51. And here it says 10.89.52. Okay, I think it's 52. So 56. Okay, radio. So, is there a Wi-Fi I can connect to here? No. Okay, radio. Let me just. That's weird. Looks like I'm going to have to use the book. Like, for some reason my database is not working. Okay, so 89. Tata pravishta salilam nabhasvata Bali yasai brihadurmi bhushanam Tatrad bhutam vai bhavanam dyumattamam Rajan mani stamba sahasra sopitam Tata pravishta salilam nabhaspata Bali yasai jad prihadurmi bhushanam Tatrad bhutam vai bhavanam dyumattanam Rajan mani stamba sahasra shopitam Tata pravishta shalilam nabhaspata Bali yasai jad brihadurmi bhushanam Tatvadbhutam vai bhavanam tyumattamam. Rajan mani stamba sahasrashopitam. Tata pravishta salilam sabasvata. Aliyya saichat priyadurmi bhushanam. Tatvadbhutam vai bhavanam tyumattamam. Rajamani stamba sahasrashopitam. Mata pravishta shalilam nabhaspata. Baliya saichat priyadurmi bhushanam. Tatvadbhutam vai bhavanam tyumattamam. Bhajan manistamba sahasrashobitam. Pravishta shalilam nabhaspata. Baliya saichat priyadurmi bhushanam. Tatvadbhutam vai bhavanam tyumattamam. Bhajan manistamba sahasrashobitam. Ladies? Tata pravishta shalilam nabhaspata. Baliya saichat priyadurmi bhushanam. Tatvadbhutam vai bhavanam tyumattamam. Rajan manistamba sahasrashobitam. Tata pravishta salilam nabhaspata. Baliya saichat priyadurmi bhushanam. Tatvadbhutam vai bhavanam tyumattamam. Rajan manistamba sahasrashobitam. Tataha, from that, pravishtaha, entered, shalilam, water, nabhaspata, by wind, paliyasa, mighty, ejat, made to move about, brihat, huge, urmi, waves, bhushanam, whose ornaments, tatra, therein, adbhutam, wondrous, vai, indeed, bhavanam, abode, tyumattamam, supremely effulgent, bhrajat, brilliantly shining, mani, with gems, stambha, of columns, sahasra, with thousands, shobhitam, made beautiful. From that region they entered a body of water resplendent with huge waves, being churned by a mighty wind. Within that ocean, Arjuna saw an amazing palace, more radiant than anything he had ever seen before. Its beauty was enhanced by thousands of ornamental pillars bedecked with brilliant gems. Okay, just for a bit of context, where have Krishna and Arjuna come from before they entered this ocean? Where did they come from? Dwarka. Oh, yes. But immediately, the immediate... No, close. And that's true, but not where they immediately came from.
Well, I was thinking about the darkness also.
Okay. Anybody know? Who was in class, not yesterday, the day before? Please raise your hands. Okay, so at least you should be able to tell us where they came from. Where do they come from? Starts with a B. Brahmajyoti, yes, right. So they've come from the darkness into the brahmajyoti, and now they've arrived at a big ocean. What do you think that ocean might be? Starts with a K. KJ. Anybody like to? KJ. Karana Jal, right? The causal ocean. Interesting, isn't it? And what have they discovered in this causal ocean? What have they discovered? A palace. Yes, a palace. And what's the characteristic of that palace?
It's very opulent.
Very opulent. Well, here, brighter than anything that Arjuna has seen. Right, we'll find that out maybe in a minute. Yes. Isn't that interesting? In the middle of this ocean, there's a palace. One who's in the palace. We'll find out. Tasmin mahabhogam ananta-pāram sahasramurdanya phanamani jubhi vibrajamanam dvigunekshanolbanam sichachalabham shitikanta jivam. In that palace was the huge, awe-inspiring serpent, Ananta-sesh. He shone brilliantly with the radiance emanating from the gems on his thousands of hoods and reflecting from twice as many fearsome eyes. He resembled white Mount Kailash, and his necks and tongues were dark blue. Have you ever flown from Delhi to Calcutta, or even from Mumbai to Delhi?
Yes.
When you look out on the left-hand side of the plane, what do you see in the distance? What do you see in the distance?
The Himalayas.
Yes. And what colour are they? White. Yeah. And is that white brilliant? It's striking enough to, oh, look at that. Right? So that's like the white of Ananta-sesh, right? That bright, brilliant white. So it's something to meditate on. Okay, so there's quite a few verses here. Just hang on. Tadasha tadbhogam sukhasanam vibhum mahanubhavam purushottamottamam Sandram Budabham Supishangavasasam Prasana Vaktram Ruchiraya Tekshanam Mahamani Brata Kirita Kundala Prabha Parikshipta Sahasra Kuntalam Pralambacharavashta bhujam sakostubam Srivatsa Lakshmam Vanamalya Malaya Vritam Sunandananda Pramukais Vaparsadaish Chakradipya Murti Tarar Nijayudhai Pustya Sriya Kirtya Jaya Kilardibir Nishevyamanam Parameshtinam Patim. Arjuna then saw the omnipresent and omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, sitting at ease on the serpent bed. His bluish complexion was the colour of a dense rain cloud. He wore a beautiful yellow garment. His face looked charming. His broad eyes were most attractive, and he had 8 long, handsome arms. His profuse locks of hair were bathed on all sides in the brilliance reflected from the clusters of precious jewels decorating his crown and earrings. He wore the Kaustuba gem, the mark of Srivatsa, and a garland of forest flowers. Serving that topmost of all lords were his personal attendants, headed by Sunanda and Nanda. His chakra and other weapons in their personified forms, his consort potencies Pushti, Shri, Kirti and Ajar, and all his various mystic powers. Purport. Srila Prabhupada mentions that the Lord has innumerable energies, and they were also standing there personified. The most important among them were as follows: Pushti, the energy for nourishment; Shri, the energy of beauty; Kirti, the energy of reputation; and Ajar, the energy of material creation. All these energies are invested in the administrators of the material world, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, and in the kings of the heavenly planets, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, and the sun god. In other words, all these demigods, being empowered by the Lord with certain energies, engage in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gunanjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmaye Shri Gurue Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Svapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Nangayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam. So, how did we get here? How did we arrive at this point where Krishna and Arjuna are or have arrived to see Mahavishnu? And Mahavishnu in his palace within the causal ocean. How and why? I guess that's the question, right? But Maharaj mentioned yesterday when he asked his biology teacher why. His biology teacher said, if you want the why, you need to go to the chaplain, right? You need to go to the religion department to find out why. And of course, this is a feature of a devotee. A devotee questions, or as Prabhupada mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, a devotee is introspective. They're not... They're interested in and observe what's going on from an external perspective, but they're also looking inwards. That's what introspection means, right? We have the word specs, right? Or inspect means to look into, and of course we use our specs also to look at things, right? So introspection means, because we use our glasses to look outwards, but we also use our yoga practice, particularly. What's one of our main yoga practices that starts with a J? Japa. Yeah, these are really hard questions, by the way. Japa. We use our japa to look inwards. Right? Cheto dapana marjanam bhavamaha davagni nivapanam. We're looking inwards and cleansing the mirror of the mind effectively, so that we're able to see in the mind the reflections of that which is within, and ideally the reflection of the pure spirit soul, who we really are. This is the purpose of introspection. And when we hear stories like this in the Bhagavatam, we're also looking for meaning, right? So why are Krishna and Arjuna arriving at this stunning darshan it's interesting, all of the scenery that the Arjuna and Krishna have observed in arriving at this location is all stunning, because they've travelled from Dwarka throughout all of the planetary systems, throughout all of the universe, practically speaking, have pierced through all of the coverings of the universe to arrive at this very special. To arrive at the brahmajyoti is special. What to speak of to arrive at the place of residence of Lord Mahavishnu. So it's interesting, at the beginning of this chapter of the Bhagavatam, there's a discussion about the sages who were seeking the truth, right? Seeking knowledge, which is again a characteristic of a devotee. And they arrived at the conclusion that Lord Vishnu as opposed to Lord Shiva, as opposed to Lord Brahma, was supreme. Right? And so, and of course, this is the message of the Bhagavatam. Ishvaraha para, well, this is the message of the Brahma Samhita, but the message of broadly of the Bhagavatam, ete chamsa kala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the supreme Bhagavan. This is what's been underlined here. Ishvaraha Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadi Adi Govinda Sava Karana Karanam. Right, so this is really being underlined here. Now, what happened? What happened to precipitate this journey and the arrival at Mahavishnu's dwelling? Well, we are then introduced to the story. This is after the Bhrigupati has tested the three, Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, and they've arrived at the conclusion that Vishnu is supreme. Then we're introduced to this story of the Brahmana's sons who disappear as soon as they're born, to the distress of the parents. And an interesting description of the qualities of the kings and the expectations of the citizens in the duty and the responsibilities of the Kshatriyas to protect their citizens. Right? And one of the expectations is that your children should live longer than you, which is broadly an expectation, not always fulfilled. And as is illustrated in this pastime, not guaranteed. So in the course of losing his sons, 9 sons in all, but after the 8th and before the 9th, Arjuna was present in the kingdom. And so he then promised the Brahmana that he would protect his next born. But the Brahmana just disregarded his promise. And he made an interesting statement. He said, if my son could not be protected in the presence of Krishna and Balaram and Anirudha and Pradyumna, how are you going to do any better? Right? Now this had an impact on Arjuna. Right? Very interesting. So when it came time for the birth of the 9th son, Arjuna's mind was contaminated by that criticism of Krishna. Right? And so who did he pray to? Shiva. Yes, Lord Shiva. And of course, Lord Shiva had given Arjuna benedictions. Which is interesting because we all accept Arjuna as a eternal Nitya Siddha, Nitya Leela associate of Krishna. But so this illustrates, however, the power of association, right? Even for such elevated and exalted personalities like Arjuna. So what happened? When the 9th son was born, what happened? Poof. Now, interesting. See how powerful Arjuna was. He then went immediately to the house of Yamaraj. Do you see how powerful he was? Then he went to the house of Lord Śrī. He travelled all over the universe looking for the son of the Brahmana. But he couldn't find him anywhere. So, true to his word, he came back and he said, let me enter into the fire. I wasn't able to, and which underlines the sterling qualities of a truly qualified Kshatriya. But Kṛṣṇa, well, hold on, stopped him. He was dissuaded from committing suicide. And that was the beginning of the journey. Right? And off they went on this journey. And now they arrive at Mahavishnu's abode. Huh? If you don't want any spoilers, then probably don't listen to this next bit. Okay? But you may have already read this story anyway. You may have heard. So what happens? What we discover is, well, a number of things are revealed. Right? A number of things are revealed. There was no way that Arjuna or anybody was going to stop these sons of the Brahmanas disappearing. Why? Because it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself who's making this arrangement. Right? But it's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvaraha Parama Krishna, it's Mahavishnu, an expansion of the Lord. And in this particular case, Krishna, the Maha Ishvara, is playing along, ostensibly. Right? He's playing along with the pastime. So this is actually Leela Madhurya, the sweetness of this Leela, where Mahavishnu, the Lord Mahavishnu, who's also the Supreme Controller, has a very strong desire to have the darshan of Krishna. Right? Which proves that Krishna is superior. Although, isn't it interesting? Lord Mahavishnu is the supreme controller of all of the universe, and he's the one who's called Krishna. So it's a pastime wherein the roles of Krishna as the supreme Ishvara, but playing as a human being, right? He didn't need to ride a chariot to get to Mahavishnu's abode. But of course, in performing his pastimes as like a human, he's appeared before Lord Mahavishnu. And it's interesting, what does he do? When Krishna meets Mahavishnu, what does he do? What would you do? What would you do if you went to Lord Mahavishnu's abode? What would be your first response when you saw him? Yes, offer your obeisances. It reminds me of a journey that a parikrama we went on from Bangalore with a friend of mine, Srinidhi Govinda. and we drove to Mysore. And on the way to Mysore, there's the Madhya temple. Anybody been to that temple? You look like you come from South India. It's a beautiful temple. Well, actually, it's very interesting. When you go into this temple, it's made from very rough hewn stone. Rough, not smooth surfaces like this, but, those blocks of granite that look like they've been chiseled out, but not with smooth surfaces, very rough surfaces. So you enter into this temple and it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is a bit rough. R-O-U-G-H, right? Rough. So, but then you get to the inner sanctum, the inner portion of the temple, and you see who? Who do you see in that? Who do you see in that temple? Have a guess. Yes, but who is he? It's Lord Vishnu lying on the ananta-pāram. And it's a contrast because you've walked into this building which has got all of these rough-hewn stones, and then the deity that's been worshipped is spectacularly smooth and immaculately presented, right? And as the story goes, and of course we accept it, the deity of Lord Vishnu is self-manifesting. Right? Because his features are all smooth, and the scales of ananta-pāram are all perfectly, symmetrically aligned on his body, for example. Right? Just stunningly beautiful deity. Right? And what's the first thing we do when we see a deity like that? We offer our obeisances, which is interesting, because even though Krishna is the supreme, he's acting as a human, and of course, as a human, he's teaching the rest of us how to act, how to behave. What is it? Yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tat evetaro, is it? Janaha. Yeah. As I act, so others will follow. That's what leaders do. They act in such a way for the benefit of those who follow. Now, of course, this is going to be very revealing and challenging for Arjuna, because Arjuna had lost that, or he'd been overcome, if you like, by some doubt, which is interesting for us, because even devotees like Arjuna have doubts. Still within, not because he's conditioned, by the way, but because this is a manifestation of Leela pastimes, Leela Madhurya, the sweetness of the Leela, where Arjuna is bewildered by the statements of the Brahmana, his criticism of Krishna and Balaram, and illustrates to Arjuna this can only take place by the arrangement of the Lord, by the arrangement of Krishna. So even though Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he's accepted his form as a human being, and he does so to set an example, he bows down before Mahavishnu. Yet he's the Supreme. Interesting. Huh? And of course, then as this will continue, Mahavishnu then blesses Krishna and Arjuna, reveals who they are. That Krishna and Arjuna are his incarnation. It's interesting, Prabhupada describes it. He says to Krishna and Arjuna, you are my incarnations. You are my incarnations of Nara Narayan Rishi. Very interesting. So, what's the lesson? What's the lesson here? And I guess there are a number of lessons that we can take away from this pastime. One is that Krishna is always in charge. He's always in control. Even when circumstances appear to us as if he's not. Right? Have you ever had that experience where you wonder, what's going on here, Krishna? We're not able to see through the covering of Maya, which is what Queen Kunti prayed. Please remove that covering of Maya, and which attacks the devotees. It attacks us, that we have a doubt. Is Krishna really real? Is Krishna really real? Even Arjuna had that doubt as a result of this lila arranged by Krishna. But then Krishna reveals to Arjuna, because he's eternally his devotee, he reveals that yes, I am in charge. But he also acknowledges that there are many controllers. Even he himself manifests in a variety of forms. And even here, Krishna didn't say to Mahavishnu, what are you doing, stealing these children? He acknowledged that Mahavishnu has his place and his role in the management of universal affairs, and he respects that and acknowledges that. And of course, acknowledges that superiority of his in that Mahavishnu wanted and reveals to Krishna and Arjuna, he stole the children of the brahmana in order to get the darshan of Krishna and Arjuna, which, as Prabhupada points out, that demonstrates the superiority of Krishna. But it's interesting how that superiority of both is balanced in the pastime, so that Mahavishnu's position as the supreme controller is affirmed and honoured, respected, and Krishna's personality as the supreme personality of Godhead is also honoured and respected. So a lesson for us is, and of course this may not reduce our bewilderment, but we should never forget that ultimately in any and every circumstance, Krishna is in control. Krishna is in charge. We just have to maintain, as did Arjuna, that mood of service. That's Arjuna's eternal relationship with Krishna, and within which he experiences many challenging and awe-inspiring circumstances in the service of the Lord, but always maintains that service attitude. So that's how we arrived here. We're now at the palace of Mahavishnu, and we're going to get his darshan. Any comments or questions? Okay, hand the microphone over, please.
So Mahavishnu, what sort of body did he have as Mahavishnu there? Was he like a regular size? And Arjuna, did he have to get a spiritual body in order to travel all that distance and that practically going to Vaikuntha? And I mean, Mahavishnu is Krishna, so Krishna is having some kind of rasa with himself and Arjuna. But is Mahavishnu like in a four-arm form, like
8 arms.
Huh?
This is not a 4-arm form. This is
8 arms.
8 arms.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Well, it's very interesting, isn't it, that there are no specifics as described here in terms of centimeters and millimeters. And he is personally present there with his potencies, his shaktis. Pushti, Shri, Kirti, and Ajar, who Prabhupada makes a point are distributed amongst the demigods, right, shared with the demigods. So, pretty much Mahavishnu is the source of everything within the creation, right? And so that's why he can be understood as superior to everybody and superior to Krishna when he appears to perform his pastimes. But size is not mentioned here. Okay? And the question about, did Arjuna already had a spiritual body? So, how did he get that? I think he always had it, and empowered obviously by Krishna. Guruji.
2 quick things maybe you can elaborate on. One is, I was reading yesterday a quote from Prabhupada that Krishna can change things immediately, but sometimes he tests the devotees. And you were talking about the how and why. This story appears on the History Channel, but along with Dhruva Maharaj, going back to Godhead, but there the emphasis is on the fact that they were able in ancient times to do interplanetary travel. That was the more important part than that they arrived in the spiritual world.
They were able to do that.
Yes.
Yes.
At least they put the story on the History Channel.
Yep. Yes. Next. The relationship between Mahavishnu and Krishna is a very interesting one. I think we can all just meditate on this pastime to get an idea of what's going on here. Right? And the fact that Krishna is just so attractive, even to himself. You know, there's that pastime where Krishna gets a glimpse of himself. Is it in a mirror or in a puddle of water or in a bit of water? And then he's stunned because of his beauty. And so that interaction between Mahavishnu is obviously also very beautiful and attractive and immensely powerful. Yet he's controlled by Krishna. And Krishna is controlled by him. So, and as who gave class before Vijay?
Advait. Jayadvait's one. Jayadvait's one.
Oh no, he was after Vijay, wasn't he?
Before.
Before him. What was? Anyway, he made a comment that Krishna, he told the story of how Krishna is the servant of his devotee, right? But he's also the servant of his expansion as well. who's also his servant, by the way. Right? Mahavishnu is an expansion of the Chaturvyuha, the second Chaturvyuha. Right? So ultimately it's an expansion of Balaram, who's ultimately an expansion of himself. So that understanding of who Mahavishnu is in relationship to Krishna himself, and the fact that Krishna is also serving him by going all that way, what to speak of serving everyone, ultimately demonstrating his prowess. So it's a meditation, I think. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. I just would like to remind about relationships between Advaita Acharya and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Between Lord Advaita Acharya and yes, Gauranga Mahaprabhu.
Yes.
And this pastimes is just reminding me that we can see the relationship like same. Advaita Acharya Prabhu also was honored by Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu, but it was not pleased him because he knew who is a Gauranga Mahaprabhu, his position, and he would so made some he started to preach this Mayavadi philosophy in order to get chastisement. Yeah, and this can we see this also Mahavishnu? He is stalling this son of Brahmana in order to see Lord Kṛṣṇa. I am just would like to hear a little bit more about that. The two pastimes, but maybe you can speak something more.
Well, Advaita Acharya was senior to Lord Chaitanya, but in his mind he always saw himself as a servant of Lord Chaitanya, right? And we know that Advaita Acharya was instrumental in calling Lord Chaitanya to appear. His realization was that the only way that the ill influence of Kali Yuga could be held back was if Krishna himself came. Huh? And so he worshipped his Shalagram Shila with 4 items, right? Tulsi, sandalwood pulp, water, right? They're the 3 main ingredients, but also his plea, his entreaty. Huh? And so I guess that's kind of like Mahavishnu bringing Krishna to his abode, kind of, since you mention it. And the interesting dynamic in the relationship between Advaita and see, Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur and others were the forebears of Lord Chaitanya, right? And so they were the devotees that acted as, or similarly to Krishna's parents and Sandipani Muni and others, the elders of Krishna, in that they came before Lord Chaitanya to open the beginning of Gaura Lila. Yeah. So because of that, Lord Chaitanya then always treated Advaita Acharya, Haridas, and we see that in the pastime of Haridas Thakur's passing, Right? Even though they were great servants of Lord Chaitanya always saw them as his seniors and treated them as such. And because Advaitacharya always saw himself as a servant, he disliked intensely the respect that that Lord Chaitanya would always give him. Right? Yeah, he disliked that intensely. And so that's why, and he complained because Lord Chaitanya was chastising somebody else. Who was it? Who was he chastising? Was it one of the devotees who was going and listening to Mukunda? Was it? The devotee, was it the devotee who was going and listening to Mayavadi interpretations of the Bhagavatam? It was I can't remember what it was exactly. And so that's where that Advaitacharya got the idea, I'll start preaching Mayavad philosophy so that I can get what I deserve, and that's chastisement by my master. Right? Yes, probably not recommended. If you want to get the attention of your spiritual master, probably better not to start preaching Mayavad philosophy. But it's an interesting lila, nevertheless. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare